In this video, we're going to cover the Jamf Pro macOS Intune integration with Azure. We're going to start in Jamf Pro by navigating to our Global Management Settings page, and we'll go to the Conditional Access settings. In the Conditional Access settings, we're going to go ahead and enable and fill out these variables. It's going to require us to also have Azure admin access to create the application registration. First, I'm going to go ahead and put in my Azure tenant information. And then next, we're going to go and get that application ID. So I'm going to switch over to my Azure tab. And we'll go here. We're within Azure Active Directory in the App Registrations area. We're going to go and create a new registration. I'm going to name it after my server. And we're going to select the first radial button of accounts in this organizational directory only, Jamf only, single tenant. Then I'm going to take and paste in my Jamf Pro instance URL, and I'm going to just have the base URL in there. With all that in there, we're going to go and click the register button then. Now that the application registration has been created, we're going to take our application client ID, we're going to copy that to our clipboard, and I'm going to go and paste that in Jamf Pro. I'm also, on the Azure side, going to take that ID and I'm going to go and put that in our Device Compliance Partner Device Management blade. So I'll go here to my Partner Device Management blade, I'm going to edit that field and paste in my application ID that we just created. Then we're going to click Save. Then I'm going to go back into Azure Active Directory and go back to our app registration that we just created. And I'm going to go to the Certificates and Secrets blade. And I'm going to go and click the New Client Secret button. I'll again name it after my server. You can give it whatever name you want. I just do that to keep them straight. And I'm going to give it an expiration of never. Then we'll go and copy this value here, which is our secret. You'll want to make sure you do this before you leave this blade for any reason, because once you leave, it's not going to be visible anymore. So we'll flip back to the Jamf Pro settings and paste it into our Jamf Pro settings page. If for some reason you're going through and doing this and don't have direct access to Jamf Pro at that time, you could just make a text document to paste those in that you would then destroy at a later date. So now with those components in there, we've got everything we need in our settings, but we have to finish some setup back in Azure. So we'll go back to Azure here, and we're going to go to our API permissions blade. Here we can see we have the graph API permissions, and that's not what we're going to need for this integration. So we're going to click on the user read, and we're going to go and remove that permission. Now with no permissions added, we're going to go and click Add a Permission. We're going to click on the Intune API. We're going to click on the application permissions. And we're going to check the box for the update _ device _ attributes. And we're going to go and add that permission. Once that's done, we're going to go and click the grant admin consent for Jamf. And now we'll just hit refresh here, and looks like everything went through and our grant was successful. So now we can flip back to Jamf Pro. Everything's filled out. We're going to go ahead and click Save, and then we'll flip back to Azure here real quick, and we'll go back to our Device Compliance blade and go back to Partner Device Management. We can see then that we got a new timestamp of when that heartbeat went through when we finished the setup. So we know that the server-side integration and everything's communicating, and that's great. The last step we need to do then is if we go back to Jamf Pro, we'll have to click on the Open Administrator Consent URL. This is going to go and create that native connector that's used client-side during the registration and subsequent check-in process. So we'll click back in Jamf Pro on the Open Administrator Consent URL. It's going to redirect us and going to ask us for our credentials. We'll go ahead and put in our credentials to our Azure tenant for our admin account, and we'll go ahead and hit the accept button for that. Then we'll get a message saying that's been added. We can go ahead and close that tab. Then for one final check, we'll flip back to Azure and we'll go to our Azure Active Directory blade and go to our Enterprise Applications blade. And here we can see the two enterprise applications that we just created, and so the manual server integration is complete.